This is Making Light. Julie Hurt and Kate Foggo are soul-level intuitives and animal communicators. This show is about us sharing our experiences in the hope it will help others along their path. So let's go make some light. Hi everybody, my name is Kate Foggo and with me as always is Julie Hurt of German descent. And we'll leave that joke right there, because we got in a mess with it the last time. And today we are in our second week of procrastination. And actually I went over, after when I was doing the editing for last week, Julie, I went through with a fine-tooth comb some of the definitions, and very interesting. I was trying to remember what they were about. I did actually put it in the chat, that we have a chat going where things that come up, we go, oh, what about that? I'll have a look at it. But it was something to do with it was a very badly written, as I complained about it continuously through that. The one in Wikipedia is it's written in an inconsistent way, which irritates me because it feels like the converse of what they're saying is true. Anywho, we are now in week 2 and we are looking at procrastination as a result of the negative belief of my personal favorite, not worthy.
Mine too.
Unworthy, not worthy, unworthy. I just asked Julie, should we be consistent? And she said, why? And I thought, oh my God, how liberating, terrifying, but liberating. So unworthy, not worthy, whatever. I have a green tinge. Can you not see it? I look like I need a shave. And here on my hands, everything's like green. Is that just in my camera? Maybe it is.
Maybe your heart chakra is super open.
I got a no since I asked. No. You're kidding. Right. So Julie, you wanted to start with well, I know what you wanted to start with. I'm going to see how you route that back to procrastination, but let's go.
Yeah, okay, so I actually had another example of feeling not worthy, my negative belief of not worthy, which is there's 4, right? And this is the one that I've been working on the most present, I would say, the last couple years. So I love how this all takes time. I say sarcastically. Anyway, so because gosh, if we could just hurry this up, but then I'd die. I guess. So anyway, not worthy. I had another example which I can share too as far as procrastination. But something happened the last 6 days that's kind of just repeated itself over the last several days that has just made me feel really, really depressed. And so when we joined Zoom this morning to be able to do this recording, I was like, Kate shared how she was feeling, and I'm just like, I'm depressed. I'm just really depressed. And and it took me a while, and it just has to do with like getting involved in conversations that I don't want to be involved in. And instead of me saying something like, I don't really want to be in this conversation, or doing, saying any of that type of stuff, I actually sit there, because what I've been practicing lately is not engaging. And I am finding that just being in the energy of that conversation wears me down, wears me out, and just leaves me feeling like just really icky and depressed, and like just really sluggish since this began. So anyway, so what I've realized, it's not me realizing it. Last night, as I was laying in bed, not able to sleep again, I was asking my guides, and particularly my guardian angel as well. I was just asking my guides, what? Because I know this has something to do with me, and I know it's something that I'm supposed to be working on. And I'm like, and I could not connect the dots. So I, asked for help. What? Do you have something to say?
No, I'll afterwards, but me. I want to go next. Go on.
Oh, okay.
I'm getting stuff as you're talking. I'm like, I know why.
Oh, okay. Okay, cool. Yeah, so I'm laying in bed last night, and they were reminding me that years ago when I left my first husband, I was going through counseling, and I showed up to a session super depressed. I was crying. I couldn't stop crying. And she said to me, depression is the opposite emotion of anger. And it's so funny. I just have to share this because it's really, really bad. My dog lays at my feet, and he just had the worst gas. And I'm just like, whoa, like it's hard.
Because you said that last week as well.
I know it's 2 things. It's these stupid little treats that I feed him. They're actually, hold on. They're good I read they're fine. They just don't agree with him.
Then they're not fine.
I know. He really likes them. Sometimes we suffer through gas. We're working on this. Anyway, and I also know, actually, no, I take that back. I know exactly what it is. It's a certain type of raw food that I feed him. I don't think lamb agrees with him. I think beef is better. So, but because I've been working with him on this. Anywho's, okay, I'm off topic. So she said to me, when you're depressed, anger is actually the opposite emotion. And I mentioned to you earlier too, that I've actually heard Abraham Hicks talk about this too. If you have the capability when you're depressed to recognize, oh, I'm depressed, and see where the anger actually is, which, thank you to the universe, it showed me in spades when I continually got involved in the same type of conversation that was really, really, really making me angry. And yet I wasn't in a situation where I could express it freely. One, didn't feel safe, secure, and protected to express it. Two, it wouldn't have helped anything. Three, it probably would have made things a whole lot worse, which also adds to all the anger, right? So anyways, so if I can express the anger, then at least the depression can begin to alleviate because I'm at least releasing. It's like a release valve. The next step then that the guides were giving me last night were, remember that anger is a sign that a boundary has been crossed. And so I very rarely, and somebody else reminded me yesterday, because I was sharing the story with someone else, and they were like, well, you know, if a conversation like this happens in your own home, it's your own home. You can say, we don't do this. And Maya Angelou also had a rule that if you were in her house and you spoke illy of someone or used words that were negative, you needed to leave. Because she told you up front, and then if you did that, she would ask you to leave. And she would ask famous people to leave like all the time. And you didn't want, I would never want to be asked by Maya Angelou to leave her house. Anyway, so I'm just reminded of this, and I'm like realizing, why do I not set up these boundaries? And from a procrastination standpoint, this not worthy feeling, that this not worthy negative belief, one way that it manifests, particularly with a certain group of people that are around me, is if I were to put these boundaries in place, I wouldn't feel, it just would really trigger this idea of not being worthy, because already I, to some degree, am an oddball as far as this group of people goes. I'm already weird. I do things completely differently than this group of people. And so if I don't already feel worthy of being in their purview, which goes back to something that happened when I was 2, then why would I try to put the boundaries in place? So I like procrastinate with doing so. And there's still a whole lot there. I can feel a whole lot more turning, and your guys are saying something too, but that was just really interesting. It's, yeah, just to examine it like that. And there's also a protection mechanism, because I was listening to our other mutual friend, Ava Baronius, and the 4 pillars. And there's something in there too. So playing with that as well.
So much stuff in there, Julie. So much stuff.
Yay. Yay. I'm fodder.
First of all, just a couple of points. We can always ask about the dog, right?
Ask about the dog.
Muscle test.
Oh, the food and the gas. Yeah.
Just reminding Julie that we can after this, we can ask whether it's the lamb or the beef or anything like that. And also just noticed, or rather my guides noticed, you're very defensive about Lucas. When I said, well, the treats aren't good, you're like, yeah, but he only gets the best tonight, and you know, just very defensive about that, Julie.
Yes.
It's okay. I think it's the state of mind you're in. So yeah. Anger versus depression, that's interesting, like, because I know exactly what you mean. From the Abraham Hicks perspective, anger is further up the vibrational ladder than depression. So if you can harness your anger, that's absolutely the right, because you're on your way up the vibrational ladder. So
that's interesting.
Opposite per se, but I don't suppose there are any opposites, because it's a range, it's a frequency. But that's very interesting and very good advice from your counselor. absolutely. But what I'm getting as well is, this might be guff, but I don't think so. A lot of the depression, as you call it, is actually your own feeling of powerlessness because you didn't put the boundaries in place.
Totally.
You're totally going through self-abuse now about why did I put up with it? Why did I let this happen? Now that is completely within your control, as in, okay, I didn't put the boundaries in place, but I'll know next time. It's hard. It's really hard. Oh God, still reading Julie's favorite book, and it's making me angrier and angrier and angrier. I'm actually reading about anger at the moment. Rage, isn't it? Anger.
The sin of rage. Yeah.
So this is Elise Learns The Price Women Pay to Be Good on Our Best Behaviour. And there's so much about the patriarchy that's like really fucking obvious, and you're like, blah blah blah. But there's so much stuff that's so insidious. I'm just getting, and one bit I've just been reading about, and I mean, she does go through it the whole time, and I'm sort of like, really, is it really that obvious? Is this really happening? But it's all like, because I don't know how I got this way. I don't recall lessons in decorum or how to be a ladylike, or I don't remember any of that. And yet the net result is we are always taught that women are supposed to be the conciliatory. We're the ones that's supposed to hold everybody together. We're the ones that's supposed to make things work. Other people's comfort is paramount. And reading it like that, like even reading it, I get a bit irritated because I'm like, well, that's not true. That's just so fucking, old-fashioned nonsense. But it is absolutely true. Like, how did we absorb this social cultural norm? Because I don't remember lessons in being a woman. And yet, and I think,
and who would have written them? Let's just because I asked that question, who would have written How to Be a Woman back in the day?
Well,
it probably would not have been a woman.
Well, men would have done.
Yeah. Which is what happened. Which is what the 7 deadly sins are: men writing rules on how to be a woman.
But like, I don't get me wrong, I see snippets of how my mother would have said, don't, and I guess that's how we form this picture, is just being sort of reprimanded, nudged, molded, squeezed, something. But like, I don't remember anyone saying it's your job to keep everybody happy, Kate. I don't remember everybody, I just evolved into that, and yet to see it written down in black and white, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so fed up. But this is also what's holding you back with this group of people, is that you don't want to be the protagonist that goes, you're all talking shit, I don't want to hear it, you're messing with my China, just shut up or fuck off. You don't want to be that person.
No, I do. And you know what's so interesting is, as you say that, yeah, I do.
No, as you said, you're like, I totally want to be all that.
I totally, bring it. Like, I do actually want to say, we're shutting the fuck up about this because this makes us go nowhere. And it's just, for me to get to that point, it's easy to say, right? It's very easy to say. And I can feel it. Like, yeah, I do want to be that person. This is, y'all, and I'm going to say it this way. And then, like, I wouldn't necessarily, because I don't feel comfortable calling somebody stupid. However,
you did before we got on.
I know. And I'm just super careful. I'm cautious of it because words have power too, right? So, and if I know that, I want to make sure I'm choosing my words carefully. These conversations do not help me. I do not want to be a part of these anymore. That's really more because then it's me. Here's my boundary around me. But yeah, I do want to be that person. It's just to get there with all the rules, limitations, all the things that we create in this existence. Just kind of.
That's just it. We are all adhering to unspoken rules. So why are we so adverse to laying down a few of our own?
I know, right? I know. I was listening to a doctor the other day. He got interested in endocrinology, and he was going to go back to school. He's already a doctor. He's going to go back to school to actually study endocrinology. And then he thought, why am I studying somebody else's parameters of endocrinology? Why can't I learn through patients and additional research? Why do I have to follow someone's protocol? And I'm just like, and that just like, whoa, why? I don't know. I don't know. I can see why we need guidelines. However, sometimes I'm thinking, who created the original protocol? And
But
is
do
it
we
still,
need guidelines?
huh?
I'm being controversial here. Do we need guidelines?
I don't know. I mean, I can see, because not all human beings are, I mean, if you think of it in Ainsley MacLeod terms, which is the instruction and soul levels, meaning some souls are older, some souls are younger, and there's different ages, if you just soul age, soul levels, whichever you want to call it. The more you progress and the older the more times your soul has been here, like, you know, thousands of times, you may have more experience at the soul level to put your own parameters in place. When you're a younger soul, sometimes you don't necessarily have that, because you haven't experienced all this. Although I will say that I think some of these parameters and protocols that have been put in place by patriarchy, let's just say, that's what's being brought up to the light to examine and actually question. So,
and
yeah.
and all is, you know, having read this book, I don't know if you recall me saying how when I was on a retreat last year, because I didn't go this year, and there was a lady there who has super strong boundaries, and I remember going, I actually don't want to be like that either, because she can be a bit of a cow, frankly, you know, and you know, and I was sort of like, I don't actually want to be that person. I don't think I ever would be that person, that I can completely ride roughshod over other people in order to satisfy my needs. Now, to be fair to her, when we talked about it again, she said that she has had to learn to do that because of her history of people crossing her boundaries all the time. So now she's like, I have to put myself first over and above the needs of other people, and that's the only way I do it. And if it ruffles feathers, but and after reading that book, I'm like, do you know what? She's fucking right. She's right. We are so fucking scared of upsetting people, upsetting the apple cart. I mean, you know, in the book it's all about the context of patriarchy, but that actually infuses into almost everything, because even all this about not wanting to fall out with people, it's because like women aren't supposed to fall out with people, you're not supposed to be outspoken, so many double standards, but and also all this judgment we hold against other women.
Yeah.
You know, that's really hurtful when I read that, because it hurts me, because I know it's true. All my judgment about people who take selfies and sit in a hot tub and all that judgment, and women that take care of themselves, there's such a conflict there, because on the one hand, fucking good for them, and the other hand, I deeply resent them for it. And that's all as a result of the patriarchy, because that's the way we've been brought up. How dare you step out of line? And yet the greater part of Kate should be going, go girl, you fucking do what you want, do as you please. You know, I want to be that girl, because that's the girl that's inside me.
Yeah.
You go for it. You tell people to shut the fuck up. You drink pints if you want to. Yay.
Yeah. That this idea of understanding for ourselves what we want, individuals, what we want, has been so every month I do a video for animal lessons. They're having me change it to, the animals are having me change it to animal messages for September. But this theme has come up for July and for August, and it's coming back around again for September, is asking their humans. Most of my clients, of course, are women. What is it that you want? Get in touch. And it's so hard, because I find myself, and I also find with clients, for a woman to actually be able to identify what I want, what she wants, what we want, that's a huge first step. And then to be able to sit with it, and then to express it, and then to stick by it, which is boundaries and all this. It is a huge, incredible thing. And it's just so, I don't know, it's so fascinating to me, it's so buried, this idea of what we want, because we've been taught for centuries that we don't get to say what we want.
It's fascinating, Julie, because I had the same messages this week.
Yeah. Yeah.
This lady, a fabulous reading. There's three horses, but one of this horse was so eloquent. Like I just opened my mouth and this stuff poured out of me, and I'm like, "There's no way I made that up." It was just, and it was all about her finding out what she wanted and knowing what she enjoyed, and that actually takes us nicely back to procrastination, I think, because a lot of women end up doing nothing because they're stuck in this magnificent indecision about, well, okay, I'm going to do what I want, but what is that?
Yeah.
And actually, what is necessary is that you take a chance on a few things, try them out, see if they fit, and if they don't, you drop them. But we just get stuck in procrastination, and to tie that back to unworthiness, that's quite often because we don't allow ourselves the time to find out. We don't allow ourselves the time to find out because we're not worthy of that time. If you knew what you wanted and you were passionate about what you wanted, well, okay, maybe then we'll let you. But to sit around and play with a few things and see how you feel about them, how dare you? How very dare you?
We're wasting the patriarchy's time and money when we try to,
with your silly little ideas. And that's the that makes me so fucking angry. This total belittlement of women, this constant you'll see that Gary just says this as a joke, but there are times where I want to take a chainsaw and I've just bought a chainsaw instantly. I'm just waiting for chainsaw oil, so I will. And it's like he does it as a joke, and it is funny, but I still want to kill him. Oh, I don't want to sit with you and Susie because you're going to be talking about shoes and handbags. And he just repeats this joke over and over again. Oh, it's all about shoes and handbags. And the irony is, of course, I talk about neither. I have absolutely couldn't give a fuck about either of them. But it's the total trivialization of everything that women want to do.
Yeah. It's so interesting too, because it brings me back to the point of the other idea that I had as far as not worthy and procrastination that has shown up in my life that actually required my dog, who is sleeping and snoring at my feet now, not having gas right now. He broke my leg in an effort to get me to move forward. So I had already become certified as an animal communicator. And that was before I worked with Danielle. I worked with another group of teachers. Yeah. I worked with another group of teachers and was certified heart-to-heart animal communication through a group called the Lightfoot Way, which are fabulous teachers as well. And so I could do readings, and I had a website, but I wasn't really doing anything. I was still in my advertising career. And it's so interesting because the conversation that we were having, Brad and I, when we were out on the trail, just before Lucas broke my leg, Brad was exacerbated with me, like, why are you not doing something with this? You study this. It makes your heart sing. He didn't necessarily use that words, but he said it made me happy. Why do you not try more? Get out there. And I felt so not worthy. I look back on it now and I see this lens, and I know that Lucas literally knocked me off my pins in a way to get me out of the office so that I could focus on doing other things, which part of that focus was finding Danielle, ultimately finding you. In that very moment, I was trying to justify to him why staying in advertising was better, even though I was burnt out, frustrated, angry, hated it, all the stuff. And I didn't want to put my efforts where I really wanted to. One, I couldn't even really voice the efforts, but I also felt so unworthy of this work and putting myself out there. And so Lucas came along, I swear to God, I would probably just finished a sentence, and at that moment nailed my right leg and broke my tibial plateau. And here we are. So the animals will knock you off your pins too.
Absolutely. That's it. And if it's not your animals, your health will do it. Because if it's not someone to break your leg for you, something will happen. There are people. It's interesting, isn't it, that the more people you meet in the sort of spiritual quest, all of them have been through some sort of breakdown, trauma, debilitating illness or something, because this is eventually the way it manifests is, well, you're not doing anything about it. We're going to make you listen one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The animals, your body, something. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what the myth of normal that Dr. Gabor Mate talks about. He can He'll
I
be
was
in a room with somewhere with people that have, multiple sclerosis, and he'll be like, you all care too much about others before yourself, and you keep it all inside.
and that's it. And like, I don't know if we can blame yeah, we can blame the patriarchy, because that's what like Abraham Hicks says, is that ultimately we're all being trained from the minute we're born, and it's true also of boys as well, but we're all being trained to please people one way or the other. Now men are taught to please in a different way, but they are essentially following a set of rules that says you need to behave this way and you need to do that and you need to be this sort of person, and we're all being, it's like just about everything that we're taught is bad for us as individuals. That's
and the
really
patriarchy,
sad.
yeah. And to your point, the patriarchy is not serving men either very well. Especially, I mean, in this country, if you look at the rise of like gun violence and all that type of stuff, that's the patriarchy not sustainable for men either. And so how do they, and to not have any of the tools to be able to deal with their own emotions, this is all part of it. This is why all this is going on, because it's time for this thing to crumble.
Yeah, but when will
Yeah.
when will it end? That's the thing. And that's, I think, you talk about depression and wild guess about the conversations that were happening, that you're talking about, if it's politics and stuff like that. This is it. I've met two people, lived here 4 years, never met anyone. I met two people in the last week I think I was supposed to meet one way or the other, just because I've been out in the garden. And there was this guy talking, I've lost my thread, but he was still, we talk about that, ended up on the price of fuel or something like that. And then you're like, I can't even go down that rabbit hole, because I get to a point very quickly where I'm like, this life is unsustainable the way it is. Everything is unsustainable. Prices are going through the roof. Nobody's got, we don't have any security now. I don't, food's gone up. This has gone up. Now our prices have started to go up again. Fuel, when actually the price of oil is dropping, and they're still putting our petrol up. And it's, and you're like, because this is now greed. There is so many greedy people out there. And I think that's why I had this reaction. I was telling you about the guy that came and gave me a quote for the hedging, and he quoted 450 quid. And I was just like, you're fucking joking. I was expecting it to be about 100. And he came down to 200, which is probably fair, because he probably did a much better job than the guy I had before. But I don't need a manicure. Just cut it, just cut it. I don't care. But it left a really bad taste. It's like, you would have charged me that if I could have paid that. Like, because I live in a big house, people think I have lots of money, so we'll start at 450. I don't like that. And I know that's the root of capitalism, is to pay what somebody will pay for it, not what it's worth. Not how much it cost to make it, not how hard you had to work, but how much can I get for that? And on the one hand, well, good for you, son. Do you know what? You're making a living same as everybody else. On the other hand, I just think, I fucking hate that. I hate this idea that you can just, I suppose we're all doing it, aren't we? We're all charging what we can for however much we think we're worth. I suppose because women have always been on the back foot about that. I mean, we're very lucky in our environment that we have been encouraged to charge more and more and more. I mean, I don't, because of my unworthiness, and now I'm at a stage where I want to put it up again, but I don't, who's to say what anybody's worth? We're all,
Right. I thought this conversation yesterday, day before, with my guides. We were out in the preserve, Lucas and I, we were walking, and somehow I was thinking about, I knew that we were going to be talking about this today. And so I was thinking about other aspects of worthy and what is worthy. And then I was thinking about, and yesterday I had a physical too. And I was so wanting to ask the nurse in particular that was with me, how she was feeling, because in this country, we are losing healthcare workers left and right because they're burnt out. Many of them are not paid what they're worth. And I do this air quotes only because they are absolutely worthy of more money and more help and support and whatnot. And I do this because we're talking about worth, not them. And I was thinking about the worth that we put on different work. So I was thinking teachers. I have a stepson who's a teacher in Detroit, and what he is and isn't paid, and it's ridiculous. So that, to me, it's like we signify that that profession is not worthy of pay, yet we expect our children to have a certain level of education, but we don't want to invest in it. That's interesting to me. And the other thing that I was thinking of that just juxtaposed, maybe not, or maybe thrown into the same loop, was people that are in this country minimum wage. I don't know what it is now. It might be $15 an hour, $15 an hour. You can't live on $15 an hour in this country. And yet we have no problem looking at somebody who is in a minimum wage job like McDonald's, let's just say, and I want that food for cheap, which the cheap food doesn't do anything for your body, doesn't help your body, certainly doesn't help the animals that went into that cheap food for any reasons because of how they have to be raised in an effort to keep the food cheap. And then you're asking somebody to give you nutrition, but you won't pay them to do so because you also don't value your own body. So it's interesting to me, this whole system that's in place on so many different levels, and we're just pummeled with these messages of not worthy.
This is where I can't see where it will ever end, and that's why I can't go down that road. It's sort of like I can't see how we will ever escape capitalism, which I think is a large part of the patriarchy. You know, I can't see how we would ever escape it. I mean, even this lovely gentleman who went past and was chatting to me about how beautiful my view is, and he's some man who's lived in this area for 100 years, not 100, 84, how many years. You know, I had a really nice conversation with him, but, you know, when I started talking about the guest house, and he's like, oh, it's such a shame it's just sitting there, not earning any money. You know, and you're just like, on the one hand, I sort of want to say, well, you know, it's like there's so many people have said that to me. You know, it goes back to that conversation we had about, you know, me taking in new tenants or something like that as because it should be earning money. It's like why is it always about the money? It's always about the money. And yet I was almost scared to say to him, I did actually say it's not always about the money, but that sounds so fucking privileged. You know, oh, really, Mrs. Foggers, you can afford not to. Well, no, not really, but, you know, it's not worth the money, you know?
Yeah.
And then I find myself trying to fucking justify with, you know, like, why do I need to justify to anyone what I do for a living or how much I earn or how I live and how I don't live? It's all right there, me proving my worth. Oh, fuck. But everything, and wouldn't believe how many conversations I've had where it all people come down to, oh, you know, all about the money and such a shame you're not earning any money out of it, or what a waste of money, and everything's about money, and everything is about money. It's always about money.
Yeah.
How do we tie that back to procrastination? I actually had a client this week, and it came down to some procrastination about something, but I can't remember the fucking point because I remember thinking, oh, there we go. And I don't think I did write it in the chat, but I actually had another example of procrastination, and it was a woman. I'm just looking at our chat. We can talk about pigeons. This in procrastination in pigeons is worth looking at. That's if we run out of stuff, but we're quite a way in, and we haven't run out of. But there was an experiment about pigeons. It's about procrastination, and it's not particularly about unworthiness. So I will look at it for next time, actually. But it was another sort of definition of, because we talked about procrastination along the lines of sort of trying to get easier jobs done rather than the big payoff. You talked about it as not taking care of yourself at the expense of taking care of others, or the other way around, rather, taking care of others at the expense of yourself. But there was another sort of talk shite, whatever.
Yeah, it just, procrastination can be, as I can attest to, a workaround for not feeling worthy. And it has shown up very recently again, as well as when I was really thinking about it, just how Lucas broke my leg. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's exactly what that was. I was procrastinating getting my business going, this business going, which makes me so happy. And even still, though, I will say, so even still, I really, 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 really want to write a book. To get the time to, right now I'm procrastinating on the book itself. And I'm procrastinating on I have some of this, I do some of the steps, and I do give myself some grace as well. I am part of a writing community. I do have some steps put in place. I'm pretty sure I have my theme worked out, but I was sitting, I think it was Saturday. It was Saturday morning. Everything was just moving so fast. Like all these different things were going on around me, and I just needed to just sit quietly. So luckily, Brad had gone out to mow the lawn, and before I had a session with a client, it just took about, I don't know, 15 minutes with my guides and guardian angel, who I've met recently, which is actually pretty cool. And just was like, okay, I just need, what is it that I want? What is it that I want? Help me figure that out. And I just would love to have a week by myself. Lucas, of course, would be here, but and Brad has children outside the state, that it would be nice if he just went to go visit them for a week. And I had a week to just do what I want and just play with writing and not have to be on a schedule. Because right now I'm on such a schedule, when he leaves, when he comes home. And I do tie it to that. Because at this point too, I'm also doing the cooking and the cleaning and all the other things. And so I put all that stuff first and try to, but I was just like, that's what I want, this quiet and time. So but to ask for it, I haven't asked for it yet.
I was going to say, and have you asked?
No, because there's one other little bit. I've been invited to speak at with our colleague Karen Dundee Smith, and I have to get that request out there too. So I want to put it all together. But this, even procrastination and this notion of having to tie it all up into a little bundle, and then please, may I? It's like, this is what I need to do for my business, but I'm still in this not worthy, like, oh, please, may I? And so I'm recognizing that, and I do feel like this is something that we need to allow ourselves time, because these are big steps, and to go from 0 to 60 is hard. And it also can create a lot of backlash that, to me personally, can set me back. So I really have to be mindful, which is probably also a workaround. I mean, there's workarounds on top of workarounds, behaviors to shield me, right? And I realize that's why the woman that was in the retreat, who unabashedly could say, these are my boundaries, y'all fuck off if you don't want to deal with them, that would be lovely to get to. Yes, I would love to be that woman. It's just hard. So I'm just recognizing that. And I want everyone to hear that too, that it's not, you don't have to do 0 to 60.
Yeah, and I would also, for you and your depression right now, Julie, is that I feel like most of it is actually about you giving yourself a hard time. It's actually not about what happened. It's about you being disappointed in yourself for having put these boundaries in place.
Totally. Because yes, thank you for reminding me of that. Because I know when we did group coaching with Danielle and our angel friend Maria, that would come up too, and she even brought that, oh gosh, how long, it wasn't even that long ago, she brought that up. I don't know what we were doing. I was probably TAing something with her, for her and Danielle. And she said, oh, there you go, you're beating yourself up because you're beating yourself up because you're beating yourself up because you're just like, yeah. So anyway, well, I think next week we talk about procrastination in terms of not good enough. So it'll be interesting to take this conversation into that next step. So not good enough being the negative belief, procrastination being the workaround. So I'm sure we'll have more examples for any of you watching, whatever examples or whatever's coming up for you as far as not worthy or not lovable from the week before. Feel free to share them with us. We would very much love to hear from you about how these conversations are affecting you. Because this needs to be a conversation, needs to be a dialogue. If you haven't read on our best behavior, The Price Women Pay for Being Good, The 7 Deadly Sins and the Price for Women Pay, we'll put it in the chat. Elise Lunan, you can also follow her podcast, Pulling the Thread. She talks about a lot of this too. There's a lot of fodder in there too. So anyway, and I do appreciate, Kate, that you are reading that book. Did you finish it?
Nearly. Not
okay,
quite.
Yeah, I had to stop. It made me so angry. I had to stop and then start again.
I just want to go and and that's another. This is part of the thing. Is like when I talk to people I swim with about it, and I can feel the eyes rolling. Oh, here she goes, going back to patriarchy. You're like,
I know.
it affects you, you know. This is, you know, all the things we sit and moan about our husbands and that's all the patriarchy, all the expectations put on it, because most of them are women, not all of them, obviously, but all the things that traditionally women got. It's not fair that I'm like, I'll be the patriarchy, you know, but we don't have those sort of conversations, which is fine, but there is a bit of it that goes, really? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Denial of the patriarchy is actually part of the patriarchy. Like, that's in place for the patriarchy.
Because even like when I tell Gary, like he said, he'll make some snide joke about it, and then I think that just suits you, doesn't it? It suits you to go, oh, and this is how, this is so stupid, but like Gabor Mate, I was watching him this week for some reason. It came up on my YouTube feed because I do my exercise every morning, and I was watching a bit of him, and because of his addiction, you know, food addiction and stuff like that. And he's not the only man I know, but he's so, what's the word? He's so upfront about the fact that you know, it's women that are at the brunt of this. It's women that are suffering. It's the, you know, and you're just like, it's just so amazing for a man. It shouldn't be. That sounds so fucking condescending, but I don't know any other men that would actually even bother to take the time to even notice, you know, that women.
I think there are more and more.
I'm sure there are. I just don't know them.
Yeah, I'm looking at my bookshop. Yeah, my books. Yeah. I just was listening to. Yeah, there's the Surgeon General of this country is a man. And I could not tell you what I know. I think his first name is Vivek. Anybody can look him up. He has a podcast. Where did I hear him? I heard him talk about somewhere. He was on a podcast. Oh, he was on Krista Tippett, who is another. Anyway, another person, but Dr. Vivek Murthy is the Surgeon General of the United States, and he has a podcast, and he interviews really cool people, and his whole thing is loneliness, and that loneliness is actually a health crisis. But he goes into all aspects of what is creating loneliness, and this is this disconnection from community, from ourselves, from our true selves, and all this stuff. So there are people, men out there, and what I also find interesting is that, for me, I think some way to make some of these changes is it's going to take men. And it's not because, you know, all of us have divine feminine and divine masculine. And what's happening from an overall perspective is we're just out of balance. There's more divine masculinity than femininity. And we're just trying to get back to balance. So there are going to have to be men who come to the table and say, I can't deal with this anymore either, in an effort to do that. Just in any situation that requires change. So you have to almost like infiltrate with the people that are of that bend, I guess. I don't know what I'm saying, but I think we're at a good stopping point for now. Yeah.
Yes.
So
I just derailed you with Gabor Mate.
No, it's all good. I know yes. So again, like if you have comments, questions, thoughts, anything, any other people to share, please put them in the comments below. Let us know what you're thinking. Let us know how this is resonating. Again, we'll be here next week. As usual, every Friday we do a new episode. This month in September, we are talking about procrastination and going up against every single negative belief that we work with, the 4. So yeah, we will see you next week. I am Julie Heert. With me, as always, is Kate Foggo. And this is Making Light to Humans Being. And we'll see you next time. Take really good care of yourself till we see you then. Thanks.